Xbox Game Pass provides us with so much content that it can be hard to narrow down what to play and what games are worth playing. There are so many broken launches in today's world of gaming, and that's why today we will be covering 20 incredible first-person shooters that you can play right now on Xbox Game Pass in 2023. This is Fletcher from Xbox Nation, and let's delve deep into these fantastic games. Titanfall was already a relatively low-key masterpiece at the time of its release, but the sequel simply polished what was already an often overlooked diamond. Of particular note is Titanfall 2's campaign, which weaves a compelling story around the duo of a rookie pilot and BT, who is your Titan that proves an oversized mech can possess an endearingly witty personality. The other main highlights in this game include Titanfall 2's well-crafted weapon sandbox and smooth as butter traversal mechanics that make the movement itself as fun as its gunplay. Don't forget the awesome multiplayer suite for even more content, and recently, with the servers now being fixed, it's the best time to dive in for some quick fast-paced action. Now, we have a game that is getting back in form, and that is Halo Infinite. The multiplayer has now been massively reworked and is now incredible fun, and the campaign breathes fresh air into the franchise. 343's marriage of an open world game with their classic Halo DNA might seem like an unlikely pairing at first, but experiencing Halo Infinite's campaign firsthand is something of an eye-opener concerning Halo's vast potential. Narratively, players get to experience the Master Chief's most personal story to date as he journeys across Zeta Halo to defeat the remarkably credible threat of the Banished. Now that the campaign co-op has finally been added to this game, up to 4 people can engage in chaotic fun as they grapple their way across the ring, which is just absolutely amazing fun. Warhammer 40k Darktide is the latest game from Fatshark after their last success of Vermintide 2, which was a fantastic, gory, melee-focused game that put you against hordes of Skaven and other monstrosities from the Age of Sigmar. Darktide is set in the 40k world of Warhammer, and the idea behind this is similar to Vermintide. You and a group of characters tackle missions where you'll fight hordes of foes and struggle to survive against outrageous odds. The campaign is deeply rewarding and the combat is beyond satisfying, and if you want to explore the deep dark world of 40k, then Darktide offers a hideous slice of that in spades. The recent class overhaul and added gameplay mechanics add more complexity, so it's definitely a better game than when it was launched. No list of the best first-person shooters on Xbox Game Pass would be complete without Atomic Heart. While its terrible yet hilarious dialogue and predictable story are undeniable, Atomic Heart is an engrossing FPS game that caters to the kind of single-player experience many enjoyed while playing BioShock. Atomic Heart is in no way reaching the same heights as Rapture in terms of environment, gunplay, or narrative, but enough components are there to make it worth your while. Plus, there is something immensely enjoyable about how awful the protagonist is. Atomic Heart is not a masterpiece, but it's just a lot of fun. Just try to turn your brain off for a bit and enjoy the mayhem and sexual innuendos. Starfield is the perfect Game Pass game. It's an open world RPG where you aren't just free to explore a sprawling continent, but an entire universe, piloting your ship of your own design between planets to define your space in the stars. If you're a fan of games like Skyrim and Fallout, then you're gonna love this one, owing to its open-ended design and freeform approach to character building. It may not be the prettiest of games or have 100 times the detail that Todd Howard have stated, but it will keep you fixed for hours with weird and wonderful quests. The big issue with Starfield from my own perspective is the amount of loading screens, but seeing past that, you will get an engrossing RPG experience with more depth than other previous Bethesda titles. Starfield is the sort of game that eats through time, so prepare to be playing this one for years into the future. There are still issues that persist with Battlefield 2042, but given that it's the latest entry into the Battlefield series, it's also the one that is receiving some of the most support right now. New maps, specialists, classes, and vehicles have been added in this time since release, and all of which have been served to make it a more decent offering for the Game Pass library, courtesy of EA Play. Despite its incredibly problematic launch, Battlefield 2042 is now a serviceable game that's a pleasure to dip into when you need some mindless multiplayer fun. It's in no way the cream of the crop, but it's nothing to scoff at when you're craving those awesome Battlefield moments. Cooperative first-person shooters are a delight to play, and Deep Rock Galactic combines jolly cooperation with procedurally generated caves. Up to 4 players can team up to mine precious minerals or escort heavy machinery for the Deep Rock Galactic Mining Corporation. Working together in this game is so important if dwarven survival is to be ensured. Waves of insect-like glyphids go out of their way to swarm your team of intrepid fellow employees while you're out on the job. While Deep Rock Galactic is not the typical first-person shooter experience seen in multiplayer action titles, it's certainly one that is not to be missed. Now, Doom 2016 revives revitalized interest in this grandfather FPS series, but Doom Eternal entirely redefined its formula. Already known for its fast-paced action and demon-slaying antics, Eternal ramped up all of that exponentially. The glory killing and shotgunning of foes became far more tactical, as certain demon types require specific weapons to defeat, and ammo counts across the board took a nosedive. There is no other FPS game in the genre that requires split-second chess moves the way that Doom Eternal does. Add to that improved story environments and tougher challenges to complete, and Eternal is one hell of a game in the Xbox Game Pass library. High on Life stands out from most other FPS offerings on Xbox Game Pass in more ways than one. Not only does it mix some platforming in with its more shooty features, but its humor is off the charts. Every weapon you hold in your hand, from melee to sword thingies to donut guns with faces, speaks to you throughout your adventure. The zaniness of High on Life cannot be understated at all. If you have a low tolerance for crude jokes, High on Life is definitely going to test your limits. But if you enjoy immersing yourself in classic Rick and Morty-esque laughs, this game was certainly made for you. Not every first-person shooter game has to involve deathmatch, some just need to take you on a hilarious spacefaring adventure with a talking gun. There's plenty of potential developer combinations out there who would go together like peanut butter and jelly, but one of those more enticing pairings was Avalanche and id Software. Avalanche have made their name on creating huge open worlds filled with activities and fun content, while id Software have perhaps created the best FPS games ever made. Together, they created Rage 2, a pretty enjoyable Game Pass FPS. Playing as a ranger by the name of Walker, you'll explore a post-apocalyptic Earth which was devastated by an asteroid. While humanity survived, the threat of mutants, bandits, and oppressive authority mean life on the wasteland is incredibly dangerous. As Walker, you'll be able to use an array of powerful weapons and abilities in order to try and bring some order to the infinite chaos. New World Interactive's Insurgency Sandstorm initially released back in September of 2021, and if you like your first-person shooters a little bit on the more realistic side of things, this might be the hottest ticket in Game Pass right now. Insurgency Sandstorm doesn't have a traditional campaign mode, instead training its sights exclusively on intense co-op and PvP modes that deliver a much more hardcore style of action wrapped up in a package that was more welcoming for new players. Yes, you will still need to get to grips with realistic handling and slowly finding your groove, but it's not as terrifying as the likes of Armor when it comes to handling things. There are some excellent game modes to dig into here, paired with top-notch map design, lots of authentic handling gear, and weapons with some excellent audio work. The early Wolfenstein games helped define the FPS genre we know and love today, and whilst Wolfenstein: The New Order does not break any new ground, it revitalizes the beloved series with a gripping narrative and precise gameplay. Players will assume the role of BJ Blazkowicz as he fights against the Nazi regime in the alternative version where they won World War II. Mechanized monstrosities and black-helmeted Nazis comprise the majority of his foes, and intense encounters and set pieces make The New Order an unforgettable addition to the series. It is the perfect blend of old gameplay callbacks and fresh takes. If you're looking for a competitive multiplayer shooter to sink your teeth into, then Rainbow Six Siege is directly up your alley. Imagining Counter-Strike with destructible environments, more varied objects, and a roster of unique characters, and that is Rainbow Six Siege. Matches are often tense and short-lived, where players are divided into two teams, attacking and defending, and given a short prep period before engaging one another. Teamwork is the name of the game, as operators that successfully play off one another's strengths will find themselves taking the win more often than not. I have never seen so much rage that can occur in a multiplayer game, but that's not always a bad thing, as it creates some spectacular moments via game chat that I've not heard since the days of Modern Warfare 2. Even though Prey is played through a first-person perspective, the game encourages you to stop and consider your options before engaging in a shootout. As a matter of fact, you are bound to be at a disadvantage if your playstyle is to shoot first, think later. Players must roam the hallways of the Talos 1 space station, taking care not to draw attention from the Typhoon, a deadly alien species that has been let loose. A variety of tools are at your disposal to circumvent or trap the Typhoon, rather than blast them to bits. However, you do get a handful of guns to lend a helping hand when your creative endeavors for sneaking past them fail. Now, Deathloop is not your typical first-person shooter, as you can very much stealth your way through the different areas of the game. Colt Vaughn, our time loop-breaking protagonist, can sneak his way around in an attempt to kill his visionaries on the island of Black Reef. Honestly, where's the fun in that? Deathloop features a variety of guns that have a blend of old-timey and modern looks to them, and if shooting your way through all of those Eternalists is still not loud enough for you, you can add one or more most satisfying kick mechanics in the history of gaming into the mix. It's a more measured experience than your average FPS game, but it's brilliant in its execution. Courtesy of EA Play, subscribers of Game Pass Ultimate can experience the Crysis series in all of its glory. Though it has fallen out of its cultural zeitgeist, it was something of a graphical benchmark at the time of its release, with the phrase "but can it run Crysis" achieving memic status with good reason. All in all, the first Crysis is still a first-person shooter game well worth revisiting. The stylish nature of Crysis gunplay made it a fan favourite, and while some aspects of the game have aged pretty poorly, it's a callback to the blossoming of the genre. After several updates and DLC additions, EA Star Wars Battlefront 2 is an entertaining experience for any fan of that galaxy far, far away. Players get to experience in far-reaching battles that can take place on familiar planets from the Star Wars universe. Not only that, but players can gain the ability to play as the famous and infamous Star Wars characters, from Darth Maul to Kylo Ren. Fan favourite faces can make harrowing appearances in the middle of firefights, and nothing makes blood curdle faster than seeing a Jedi or Sith swiftly approaching while blaster shots do nothing to deter them. DICE possesses clear FPS experience from their time with the Battlefield series, and it shows with every prolonged enemy engagement. Star Wars Battlefront 2 truly knows how to make players feel as if they've been dropped into the middle of a battalion of stormtroopers. A single Quake game in Game Pass was never going to be enough for any of us, but now thanks to the surprise remastered release of Quake 2, we're just beginning to whet our appetite for phenomenal boomer shooters on Xbox Game Pass. And when we do say phenomenal, we really mean it in the literal sense of being a phenomenon. Though people widely cite Doom and the original Quake as being the forefathers of first-person shooters, Quake 2 did a lot to solidify the foundation for this juggernaut of a genre. This remaster makes it so you can experience it in the best format possible, and it's an absolutely excellent adventure if you've never played it before. Now, the Far Cry games are some of the most entertaining FPS games out there, especially given their open world nature. Far Cry 5 is one of the greats of this franchise, especially given that two players can participate in some campaign co-op fun. Admittedly, your jaunt into Hope County is not the absolute best Far Cry experience, having a look back to games like Far Cry 3, but it's a solid outing in the series. It's got everything you could want from a Far Cry game, with larger-than-life but eerily familiar antagonists, rowdy wildlife, and an open-world sandbox. You can now experience the madness side by side with a friend, and the best thing, it recently got an Xbox Series X and S patch, so you can now play it at 4K and 60 FPS. Which one of these FPS games is your favourite on Xbox Game Pass? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful and you enjoyed, consider liking the video and subscribing for more Xbox content every single week. Whilst here, check out the video on screen right now of 30 games coming day one into Xbox Game Pass in 2024.